the machines, CNC machines are there, but how you are going to do the programming for that. So using the G codes and M codes that you will learn in this particular chapter. Okay, that is also one of the course learning objectives. And for this, the turning program and milling program is also there. Okay, and after that, the robotics. It comes to the robotics, and in the robotics, the anatomy of the robot, configuration, how you are going to configure the robot, and the robot, how what are the different control systems are there, that you will learn in this particular course learning object. These are the course learning objectives of this particular subject. Okay, and the next, the part. Okay, so if you go for the prerequisite for this particular subject, okay, the fundamentals of manufacturing process that you will have already learned, okay, in the previous semesters. Okay, the manufacturing, like say the subject, whatever you have learned, those are the fundamentals are required to learn this particular subject. Okay, I'll just go by one, and the hours allotted for that unit. Okay, the first unit, whatever you are observing on the screen. Okay, unit 1, computer integrated manufacturing system. Okay, that is the heading of that particular unit 1. In that you will learn introduction, production system, automation in production system, automation principles and strategy. What are the different principles and strategies are there? 10 principle and strategies are there in that. Basic element of automated systems, advanced automation function, and level automation. So this is related to computer. How you are going to integrate all these particular things, like say automation in the production system. How you are going to automate the production system. So like say when the material comes in the factory, and how you are going to automate all the things, like say your whether it is a fixed automation or a programmable automation or the flexible type of automation. Now how you are going to say like it depends on the variety, part variety or part quantity, how much quantity is coming, what is the different types of variety, how many different types of varieties are there, that will come into this particular the computer integrated manufacturing system. Okay, what are the different elements and all. So in this again, in that particular automation and production system, okay, the strategies, how many levels are there in the automation, that you will learn in this particular unit 1. And the sub section in this particular unit is manufacturing models and matrices. In this you will learn some, you will find some numericals. Okay, so like if the part will come to the shop floor, okay, and if you want to manufacture that particular part, okay, now how you are going to calculate, say if something, say from customer, okay, one order will come to the factory. Now how they will calculate all the timings, and if I want to give, okay, the cost for that particular component, okay, now how I am going to give, unless and until if I don't know the machining cost or the production time or the rate of production of my plant or what is the capacity of my plant, I can't give the quotation. I can't quote that particular for that particular material. Okay, so in this particular unit 1, in the subsection in manufacturing model and matrices, okay, you will learn mathematical model for production performance, that is production rate, production capacity, utilization and availability, and manufacturing lead time, work in process, and some simple numericals problems using mathematical model equations, and manufacturing cost, simple problems on manufacturing cost. So here if you see the production rate, okay, what is the rate of production? So to calculate the rate of production, you require the production time, average production time. Now how you are going to calculate the average production time? So in that chapter, when we take that particular chapter, at that time we will explain in deep. Okay, but for that production time, again, see loading time of that particular the part on the machine, then how many quantities are there, and into how many the operation time is there, plus your setup time for that particular part. So all those particular things will come. Okay, so loading time and unloading time, and then setup time, quantity into your operation time. So though that will give the average production time. So that is required to calculate what is the rate of production. So that is the rate of production. And the second one in that, the production capacity. What is the capacity of that particular plant? Okay, see, I want to run 3 shifts in a day, but if I get the order of 4 shifts, okay, I can't do. That is the maximum 100% capacity I can do the machining, but more than that I can't do. So we have to see the how much production capacity. It depends on the quantity whatever they are giving. Okay, that, see, you have to calculate first and then you have to accept the order. Otherwise, you have to tell that I know my plant capacity is only 3 shift. I can't do more than that. Okay, it depends on again the availability of the worker. All those particular things will come. But the thing is, you have to, whenever you are giving the quote, at that time you have to consider all these particular things. Okay, and then utilization. How much you are utilizing, okay, of that particular capacity. You have that 100% capacity for 3 shift, okay, in a day, but the utilization, how much, whether you are utilizing 3 shift fully or partially, like 70% capacity you are running or 60% capacity you are running, though you have 100% capacity, but when if you load that particular component, at that time you will come to know, okay, at that time whether you are going for 100% capacity or 60% capacity. That is how you are going to utilize, okay, at that particular time. That is your utilization, 70% utilization or 80% utilization. Next comes your availability. In that availability, yes, whatever the resources are there, so according to that, you are calculating what is the availability using your production rate, production capacity, and utilization. Okay, so you are calculating that particular the time. Okay, and then some problems, okay, you'll find in this particular chapter in unit 1. Okay, simple problems are there. So with mathematical equations, you have to solve those particular problems. So here, in unit 1, another subsection is the self-learning topic. In that, you have to learn automation for machining operation. Okay, how you are going to automate the things, okay, in the machining operation. So that this comprises unit 1. The second unit, another thing is, this unit, okay, the total the hours allotted for this particular unit 1 is 10 hours. Okay, so in 10 hours, we will complete all this particular, we will cover all these particular sub chapters. Okay, so you will learn in this particular, the allotted for this particular unit 1 is 10 hours. Okay, and unit 2, okay, in unit 2, automated, this comprises automated production lines and analysis of transfer line. These are the 2 sub chapters you will learn in this particular unit 2. So here also, if you see, the allotted hours is 10 hours. Okay, and in automated production line, fundamentals of automated production lines, okay, system configuration, how is the configuration of the system, work part, how you are going to transfer the work part, what are the mechanisms for to transport that particular work part, whether it is a linear transfer mechanism or a rotary transfer mechanism, and a buffer. Okay, in between the stations, you will find some storage. Okay, if something happens to the machine, okay, if some breakdown happens or some overhauling you have to do, at that time the buffer storages are required. Okay, so that the line will not stop, okay, or halt. So control of production line, whether in that you will learn the control functions, okay, line controllers. Okay, so those particular things you will learn in this particular chapter. Okay, and the linear transfer mechanism also, whether, okay, in that also you will have the different types of mechanisms, like the walking beam mechanism is there, okay, or Geneva wheel mechanism is there, or carton track mechanism is there. So you will learn all those particular things in this particular linear transfer mechanism. If you see the rotary transfer, like say a dial indexing mechanism is there. Okay, so you have to index. Geneva mechanism also one of that the rotary type of mechanism. So those things, okay, you will learn in this particular chapter. So like if I want to, I'll just give one example here. If I want to manufacture the watch, okay, in the factory, so usually you will find these type of the Geneva wheel mechanism or the other type of configuration, say to transfer the work part. Say like your casing is a one work part, second one is the belt is another work part, third one is the dial is one part, fourth one is the machine inside that particular watch is a one part. So I want to transfer those particular part to the assembly stations. Now how you are going to transfer that part, and which type of mechanism I'm going to use to transfer those particular parts. So that will come into this particular chapter number 2. Okay, and how you are going to analyze this particular line. Now I want to just transfer in whether it is an inline configuration or it is the rotary configuration. Okay, wherever the parts are left, we are choosing the rotary configuration system. Wherever the parts are more, say like if I want to manufacture the engine, okay, for the car, okay, you might have seen the 2-cylinder engine, 3-cylinder engine, 6-cylinder engine, 8-cylinder, 12-cylinder engine, so and so forth. But I want to transfer n number of, say, if you see the engine part, if you disassemble all the parts, you will see thousands of parts you will find. Okay, so if I want to transfer thousands of parts to that particular assembly line, in that particular case, the rotary configuration system or a mechanism, it will not work out. So you have to go for inline configuration. Okay, so that you will learn in this particular chapter. That is unit number 2, and how you are going to analyze this particular transfer line. So there are two main the concepts are there here. One is analysis of transfer line with no internal buffer storage. Okay, there is no buffer storage in between the two the assembly stations. But if you go for the another one, so that is analysis of transfer line with internal buffer storages. Okay, so if something happens to the, so that is how you are going to analyze. Okay, the mechanism. Okay, that is a transfer mechanism. Okay, there are two parts, and some simple problems also you will find in this particular analysis of transfer lines. Okay, so like the frequency, if you want to calculate here in this particular case, one important thing is the frequency. Okay, at what frequency the line will stop. Okay, line will halt. So we are calculating with the help of, again, here some probability will come. So with the help of n into p, that calculation is there. Okay, some mathematical equations are there. Okay, so in that, with the help of that particular number of workstations, whatever you are using to transfer that particular part or to assemble some parts, okay, and with no internal buffer storage, how you are going to calculate with the help of the frequency for the line stop, okay, and with internal storage, how you are going to calculate. Okay, so those particular equations will come in this particular, and some numericals, simple numerical problems you will find in this particular chapter. So that is unit number 2. Okay, and unit number 3 comprises of manual assembly systems. Okay, here you will find, if you see that particular unit, this is also the hours allotted for this particular unit is 10 hours. And here you will see the manual fundamentals of manual assembly lines, analysis of single model assembly line, repositioning losses. How many losses will come into this particular when you using this particular concept, manual assembly systems, and how you are going to balance the line. So that I have already explained in the course learning objective, balancing, line balancing method. Okay. So here in this particular third chapter, okay, those particular things will come. So here we have 3 types of the algorithms for the line balancing. So first one is the largest candidate rule. There are 3 types are there. In that, the first type is the largest candidate rule, and the second one is the Kilbridge and Webster's method, and the third one is the rank position weight method. So with the help of these 3 methods, okay, we are calculating all the losses. Okay, how you are going to balance the line, what is the delay in the balancing of that particular line, what is the efficiency of that particular line, okay, and how you are going to calculate what is the service time, okay, using some the whatever the given data, okay, we are calculating the service time and all those particular things, and with the help of these particular 3 methods, we'll come to know how much is the delay or what is the efficiency of that particular line. So by just allocating, okay, the work element to the different stations. Okay, let's say if I calculate whatever the given data is there in front of you, and we want to balance that particular line. Now, how much, with what efficiency you have to balance the line? So you have to see to it that it should be balanced within minimum number of workstations. Okay, that you have to check. Okay, before balancing that particular line. So for that, we have to use some precedence constraints. Okay, so that will come into this particular the unit number 3. Okay, in the analysis of single model assembly line. Okay, so with the help of precedence constraints, we have to allocate according to their the time, okay, whatever the loading time is there for that particular 1 or a second the machines, okay, you have to allocate those particular the loading times. Okay, next comes your automated assembly systems. In this, okay, fundamental automated systems. So in the unit number 2, you have seen automated production line. Now here, automated assembly system. Okay, in this assembly system, fundamentals of automated systems, system configuration. In this you will find, okay, inline configuration, rotary configuration, okay, and the other configurations like say directly you are feeding the part to the station. Okay, so those particular things you will see in this particular the part. Okay, and part delivery at workstations. So here in this particular chapter you required the hopper, part feeder are required, selectors are required, feed track is required, escapement and placement devices are required, and some application of this particular part and some partial automation. Okay, you are going to partially, or I want to if I want to do automation, then we are going for the partial automation. Okay, we are not say it depends again with the help of the class this thing. So partial automation. Okay, in the partial automation, yes, if we didn't have any capital, that much of capital, then we are going for the partial automation. Okay, so unit number 4, again the allotted hours are 10. Okay, and in this again the automated vehicle system, guided vehicle system, and computerized manufacturing planning system. You will learn these two subsections. In this vehicle guidance and routing, how you are going to use the vehicle guidance technology. In this you will learn embedded guide wire method, self-guided vehicles are there, paint strip methods are there, different methods are there to guide that particular automated guided vehicle AGV, and how you are going to route that. Okay, we have different vehicle mechanism is there. So with the help of vehicle management, we are routing that particular part, okay, in the system. And system management, and then quantitative analysis of AG with numerical problems. Some problems will come in this, okay, numerical problems will find, okay, how many, say if I want to automate that particular line and I want to serve n number of parts to that particular station. So how many AGVs are required? So number of AGVs are required. That will come into this particular AGV, unit number 4. Next, computerized manufacturing planning system. Okay, computer aided the process planning. That just I have explained just now in the course learning objective. Okay, in this retrieval type of process planning, generative type of process planning. What is the material requirement? Okay, from if you receive the customer order. Okay, you want to order that particular to the say like foundry. If I want to get castings to manufacture that particular part, so you have to release the purchase order. So material requirement, how you want to require the material, how much material is required. So that you have to plan. Okay, so that comes under material requirement planning. That we are calling it as a MRP. Okay, and fundamental concept of MRP, inputs whatever is required for MRP, and capacity. What is the plant capacity is there? Accordingly, you have to plan the activities. So that will come into this particular 4th chapter. 5th chapter comprises of CNC machining center, as I explained. Okay, the CNC introduction, CNC elements. What are the different elements of CNC machining centers? Okay, different types of CNC. You have seen CNC in your internship. CNC turning center you have seen, might be, okay, and VMC, vertical machining center, you have seen. Say if the spindle is vertical, we are calling it as a vertical machining center. If the spindle is horizontal, we are calling it as a turning center. If the spindle is horizontal again, but we are calling it as a HMC, horizontal machining center. Okay, so turning is it is like just a modified version of your lathe. Okay, we are attaching some CNC machining elements, okay, to that particular lathe. The concept is same, okay, but in lathe machine you are using some gear head mechanism and all, but there we are using the servo control motors, okay, to rotate the spindle is the turning center. Okay, and we have to you will learn in the part programming, okay, with the help of G codes and M codes. When we will take this particular unit 5 in depth, we will teach you the codes, okay, which we are using for that particular programming, to program that particular part. Okay, so whatever the step turning programming and other program the operations we have did on lathe machine, same we are doing on the turning center, but with the help of G code and M codes. Okay, that is to turn that particular part and do all the operations. Okay, different types of operations. And in robotics you will learn anatomy of the robot. Okay, and configuration, different configurations are there, robot configurations are there, that you will learn. L type and other types of that you will learn. Okay, again I will not take much time here to explain all those particular things. Okay, so those particular things, configuration, control systems, terminologies, accuracy, adaptability, what are the end effector of the robot, that you will learn in this particular chapter. Sorry. And then the books, whatever the reference books are there, okay, for this particular subject course is one is MP Grover, okay, Michael P. Grover, Automation, Production System and Computer Integrated Manufacturing, the Person India, okay, 2008 is the edition, okay, and the third edition, okay, that you have to take. And yes, Kant and Vajpayee, Principles of Computer Integrated Manufacturing, Prentice All India. Okay, that is the second book. Third book, the reference book is J. A. Rudd and Henry and Kreber, Computer Integrated Manufacturing, and Nano Singh and System Approach of Computer Integrated Manufacturing, Willy and Sons, INC, okay, 1996, year of publication. Ibrahim Zaid for CAD/CAM, Tata Micro publication. Okay, and the course outcomes for this particular the course is at the end of the course, okay, you will learn, okay, you will understand the effect of manufacturing automation strategies, drive production matrices and all. The Bloom's level for this particular the course, okay. The L2 is the understanding, okay. The Bloom's level is L2. Analyze automated. Second one is analyze automated flow lines and assembly systems and balance the line. How you want to balance the line? How you want to analyze the flow line? Okay. The level is L3. And you are developing the cap system for rotational and prismatic parts. So whenever you are loading, you have to see whether it is a prismatic part or a rotational part. Okay, accordingly you have to develop the cap system, computer-aided process planning. Okay, system for that particular, whether it is a production line or whether it is a assembly line. Okay, assembly system. And then design automated material handling system for typical production line. So design automated material handling system. So here, that is AGV, okay, how you're going to move the parts from the movement of the material from one station to another station. So how you're going to design that particular layout, okay, and how many the vehicles are required, all those particular things, okay, that the level for that, Bloom's level for that outcome is 4, and the program outcome of the course, POs, okay, if you see, so PO1, PO5 and PO11, okay, holds good for this particular outcome, okay, POs. And course delivery method, as of now, we are doing only PPT. The board we are not using, okay, lectures with the help of Google Classroom. And we are showing some videos here, okay, whenever it is, if it is required for that particular chapter, we are showing the videos also. The assessment method for this particular the course is IA, quiz, assignment, and course projects are there. Okay, and then the scheme of continuous internal evaluation. Okay, CIE components maximum marks are 40, average best of 2 IA tests out of 3, 25 marks we are taking and considering, and average of assignment 2 assignment or activity 10 marks are there. Quiz 5 marks, class participation 10 marks, and total marks of 50 CIE marks. Okay, writing. Now here in this CIE, writing 2 IA test is compulsory. Okay, and minimum marks required to qualify for the SEE is 20 out of 50. Okay, that is very important. And self-study topics shall be evaluated during CIE. Whatever CIE we are taking, we are evaluating that. And assignment and IA test. Okay, and 10% weightage shall be given for SEE question paper. Okay, semester end examination, SEE, it will be conducted for 100 marks for 3 hours duration, and it will be reduced for 50. Okay, so that's why in the, if you check the first, okay, this thing CIE and all course code in that this thing. So total CIE credits are 4, CIE marks are 50, and SEE marks are 50. Okay, so that is 50 marks. Okay, for the calculation of AG or SGPA and CGPA. Okay, and minimum marks required in SEE to pass is 40 out of 100. Okay, and question paper contains 8 questions each carrying 20 marks here. Okay, students have to answer 5 full questions. You have to answer 5 full questions, and SEE question paper will have 2 compulsory questions here. Any 2, and choice will be given in the remaining 3 units. Okay, so this is what is about the course of the computer.
Can you see the window presentation?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We'll start with it. Good afternoon, students. This is Professor Vinay Kulkarni. I'll be starting with the introduction of the first chapter. I'll be taking the first chapter as half, and later I'll be taking the fifth chapter. In between, there will be other three professors who will be taking the classes for the other chapters. So we have divided ourselves into different things that so that we'll have a smooth conduction. So what is SIM? Basically, computer integrated manufacturing is a manufacturing approach of using computers to control the entire production process. So before we go with computer integrated manufacturing, do we really require automation? Anyone can answer. Anyone can unmute themselves and answer. No one?
Yes, sir.
Do we really require?
as the, as the production time decreases, sir, so it will be helpful for.
Yeah. So now he says the production time decreases and other things. But what about the laborers? They will lose their job.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Employment decreases, sir.
How do you justify automation then?
Sir, sometimes automation even gives employment. For example, printer came into picture when
Yeah.
printers came into picture. Many of those who used to like paint posters and all, they got unemployed. But if you see on
Hmm.
the other side, one who like some people like market cartridge, printer sellers, some other part of people got employment.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
it balances both the sides.
Yeah. So automation is like where exactly necessary it is required, then only go for automation. If I make an automation of opening and closing the door of a classroom, so what will happen the moment a student comes in front of it? So at every time it is going to open and close the door, it will become a nuisance because even the person who is just passing by, it will automatically open and again close. So do we require automation there? No, we don't want automation for opening and closing of the door. You can actually push it physically. In a SIM system, functional areas such as design, analysis, planning, purchasing, cost accounting, inventory control, and distribution are linked through the computer with factory floor functions such as material handling and management, providing direct control and monitoring of all the operations. So, without the integration of computers, initially there was all the paperwork. So every time if there is some change in the design person has to come from the design department to the shop floor and tell that so and so is the change in the design and other things. And analysis was done on based on the graphs and other things. So all these things are now computer integrated, where we have softwares which will actually control all the data, all the shop floor scheduling, assembly, and material management. So if materials continuously are taking materials from the shelves, we call it as the storage system. So there every time you have to note it on paper. Now you have a barcoding for that. So as and when the inventory is put into, means the raw material has come inside, so there is a barcoding for that. So it will show me that so many number of parts are available, and when I as and when I take it out, I just scan them, and one and it will go on minusing that on the software, and it will say that I have only so many materials left out. So otherwise, if it was manual, every time he has to count how many are there, or he has to write and he has to make the calculation. So all these things with the integration of computer, everything has been made easy. What are the benefits of computer integrated manufacturing? It allows individual process to exchange information with each other and initiate actions. So here, if I'm there on the shop floor and in the design department, I need to send some data. So without the computer integration, I need to actually manually go and give it to the design. From the design, I have to give it to the production department. From production department, I have to go for the die design and other things. So only at one place, if I update all the information, it will get updated to everyone. Yes, for this product, we have all these changes and we have to do these changes in the next few hours. Through the integration of computers, manufacturing can be faster and less error prone. Although the main advantage is the ability to create automated manufacturing processes. So if you see in the earlier days, the milk was actually packed or given in a can. Now, giving in the can was a very cumbersome process because delivering that till those house places was difficult. So nowadays, what it is happening is they are filling it in the plastic bags, which comes as a cartridge. So that if I do it without the integration of computers, then I had to manually fill it, wrap it around, put a rubber band or tie a thread around it. But now how it is, the plastic is coming directly through the machine. Milk is getting filled into that, and it is sealed off with the heating of the plastic. So this is completely automated. As a method of manufacturing, three components distinguish SIM from other manufacturing methodologies: means for data storage, retrieval, manipulation, and presentation. So initially, if you just see the machine drawing or the graphics, which we were doing it on the sheets, now you're doing it on the computer. So if any changes was to be done, we had to rub completely, again do the design changes on the paper, again show it, and again get all the data corrected. But now, since you have the software part, what is happening is you can, okay, I want to delete this line, you can directly delete the line and get the new line wherever required. You have all the softwares available. The data storage of whatever the drawing you have done is easy. You can retrieve it easy at any point of time, and manipulating is very easy. And presentation is directly on the laptop. You have the software, you have it the laptop, and you can directly present it. Mechanisms for sensing the state and modifying the process. So mechanism for sensing the state means what is the state of the machine, whether the machine is going to fail, whether the bearings are going to fail. All these things can be retrieved from the machine itself with the help of few sensors, and then modifying the processes. If I have to modify something, I can do that easily. Algorithms for uniting the data processing component with the sensor or modification of the component. So if I have to modify something, a component, I can do it easily through the design department with the help of software. If it was a manual system, then I had to again reshape all the drawing, show it to 10, 15 people. They will give me inputs, then go to the production department. Again, they are going to make some design changes. So it will take a lot of time. But with the help of these integrations, we can do all these things with few minutes or few seconds also. Any doubts till now?
No, sir.
Okay. Some factors involved when considering a SIM implementation are the production volume. If you want to go for automation, your production volume should be high. If it is only a few hundreds, then you usually don't require automation, because few hundreds means the laborers only can produce those few hundreds and deliver it to the companies. The experience of the company or the person to make the integration. The experience of the company does not mean that it is a new startup company and they're directly going into automation. It is the experience of the people who are there in that company. If they have more experience and the company is just new and they have been introduced into the company, they can go for automation, because it depends on how the company is going to invest in those CNC machines and automation systems. The level of integration into the product itself and the integration of the production process. The last one is that, like, the level of integration into the product itself. So what type of integration is there in the product, whether the product is too complex, whether the product is too easy, or whether the product requires assembly. If it requires assembly, then what are the assembly automation machines? It will be robots, because robots only can assemble things. So for assembly, the robots will be required. Then the integration of the production processes. Now, integration of production processes is like, you are making one component, there is one more component being made, and I have to integrate these two production process together and get one assembly out of it. SIM is most useful where high level of ICT is used in the company or facility, such as CAD/CAM systems, the availability of the process planning and its data. So now the process planning data and the ERP softwares which the companies use are different because they have their own requirement. Now we have an ERP software, that is Enterprise Resource Planning software, called as DHI. Before this, we had Continuum. So all the data was fed into that. Now, if I have to release the results manually, what would have happened? I have to each and every marks I have to write it manually for each subject. Do all the integration from all the departments. If you have open electives, I have to go to that department, collect all the data, write it, and then display it. So this is very cumbersome. But with the help of this ERP software, we are able to connect all the departments, connect all the central level committees, and directly feed the data at one single server and get the entire result on one single sheet. Now you can see there are few softwares which are being shown here. So these are all the softwares which can be made and can be seen how the product looks. There are few softwares which will give the virtual reality kind of this one, where you can make all the modifications on the product itself. So if this thing had to be imagined with the normal drawing, that is just 10 years before, we could never imagine how this bike actually looked like. Now you can see how the bike looks like. You can see how the plane looks like. You can see how the turbine looks like. You can see how the guitar looks like. So before this, we never could imagine that, okay, the product would look like this. Now, because of the computers and the softwares, you know how the products look like. Okay. What is automation? Anyone? Now I have explained so much about computer integrated manufacturing. So someone can answer what is automation. No one is there to answer? Okay. Automation is anything which has the integration of computers, sensors, and feedback systems, which will give the feedback of the machinery into making a product or a process. So there are three types of automation: fixed, flexible, and programmable. We'll go with the first one. Fixed automation, it is also known as hard automation, refers to an automated production facility in which the sequence of processing operations is fixed. Now, sequence of processing operations is fixed means, now if the part has to, if I'm manufacturing a water bottle, then what are the two parts? One is the cap and the other is the body. So the operations in this is, I have to make the body, blow it through the plastic machineries, and give a threading, make a cap, give its internal threading. So these are the four fixed operations which I can do. So there is no change in this. So I'll just continuously manufacture. You have seen the Bisleri bottles. There are a lot of Bisleri bottles. So the processing operation is fixed and a large number of Bisleri bottles are made. So there is no change. The equipment configuration also will remain same throughout. No matter whatsoever, the product variety will never change. The Bisleri bottle is 1 liter means I'm going to produce only 1 liter water bottle. If I have to produce half a liter, then I will have separate machinery for that, because all the dyes and other things will not fit the same as that of 1 liter water bottle. In effect, the programmed commands are contained in the machines in the form of cams, gates, wiring, and other hardware that is not easily changed over one product style to another. So if you have seen Parle-G biscuits, they never changed their design or the covering or the pack. Everything remains same throughout these so many years. They are still not changing also. So whatever their machinery is, are there in the form of cams, gears, wiring, and other hardware. So there is no computer integration into that. It is fixed. I have the biscuit size also fixed. Everything is fixed. It is not easily changed, and it is never changed from one product style to another. Now Parle is producing many. It has some other type of biscuits also, but Parle-G is one. So the production line for Parle-G is completely different, and it will be fixed throughout. This form of automation is characterized by a high initial investment because I have to produce a die so that my biscuit can be made, and high production rates. Parle-G is going to be produced in large numbers only. There is no stopping for it. It is therefore suitable for products that are made in large volumes. Examples of fixed automation here includes machining transfer lines found in the automotive industries. So machining transfer lines in automotive industry, they have all those transfer lines. That is, they have a base and other thing where on that either a two-wheeler or a four-wheeler is kept and it has been transferred. Then you have automatic assembly machines and certain chemical process. Chemical process is actually used in textile industry. So they have the fixed automation for this. Okay, now we'll go to programmable automation. Now, what is programmable automation? It is a form of automation for producing products in batches. The products are made in batch quantities ranging from several dozen to several thousand units at a time. For each new batch, the production equipment must be reprogrammed and changed over to accommodate the new product style. That is, if I am making Cadbury silk, okay, in that there are a lot of varieties. There is almond, there is fruit and all this. They are product variety. And the product style also, if I have to change, like you have bubbly, you have that heart-shaped silk chocolate, you have crackles and all that. So they are produced in batches. This reprogramming and changeover take time to accomplish. And there is a period of non-productive time followed by the production run for each new batch. So if I'm producing chocolate, then if I have to change over the style, then I will require some time to change over all the machinery characteristics or the machinery properties to fit the new product. That is, I'll be buying the silk chocolate. So the silk chocolate has to be produced. So I have to reprogram from a smaller size to a bigger size, and then the product variety on that. The smaller 10 rupee one is plain. The bigger one has checks in it. So all these things, the die has to be changed over. So changeover time will it will have some few lags. There is a period of non-productive time. Non-productive time means this all changeover when it is happening, you cannot produce any product. Followed by a production run for each new batch. Production rates in programmable automation are generally lower than in fixed automation because the equipment is designed to facilitate product changeover rather than product change or product specialization. A numerical control machine tool is a good example of programmable automation. The automation is coded in computer memory for each different product style, and the machine tool is controlled by the computer program. If you see a CNC machine, there is a tool palette. So if I have to machine or if I have to drill a hole on the one particular raw material, so the drill bit is taken from the tool palette and it drills a hole. Then I want to end mill the edges of it. So again, the drill bit will go back and I'll have the end milling tool from the tool palette. It will come and it will do the end milling for me. Then I want to make a slot in between. Then a slotting tool will come. So I'll use the slotter and I'll start doing that. So this thing will be available for programmable type of automation where I need the change in product every now and then. So the program is coded in the computer memory for each different product style, and the machine tool is controlled by the computer program. Industrial robots are one such example. The last one is flexible automation. It is an extension of programmable automation. The disadvantage with programmable automation is that the time required to reprogram and change over the production equipment for each batch of new product. This is lost production time, which is expensive. So if I'm repeating this last line, this is lost production time, which is expensive. So when you are actually going for automation for a huge number of parts to be manufactured, if you go with a labor, so what will be the lost production time if it is a labor instead of automation? what he will do is the first few raw materials will change to the products. So he will be doing, he's active during that period, he's fresh and he's active. So over four products he has produced, the fifth product will have some error, the sixth again will have some error, because there will be stress or fatigue over that person or that labor. So as and when the time goes on passing, so he will have fatigue and he may end up producing 10 parts, out of which four have to be remachined because there is an error. Now that also is an expensive, because those products had to be packed or had to be sent for logistics, but still because of the error, it has to be remachined. So for this, if I go for automation, I have CNC machines and other things, so they will do the job perfectly for me. Even if you give them 10 raw materials, they will do 20, they will do 30, they will do. But for a labor, it is not possible. He has fatigue, and it will be not possible for him to work 24 hours a day. Though you have shift timings, during shift also there is lot of time lost. And what happens is, the person who is making that product may stop the making that product and just leave it as it is and go. The new person, when he comes, he has to first go through what all machining has been done on that, and then only he is going to start working on that product. So again, there will be some time lost. So during automation, it is eradicated completely. In flexible automation, the variety of products is sufficiently limited so that the changeover of the equipment can be done very quickly and automatically. The reprogramming of equipment in flexible automation is done offline. That is, the programming is accomplished at a computer terminal without the production equipment itself. So the reprogramming is done somewhere in the design department or somewhere that in the production department, and immediately it is sent to the machine without any lag. So there is some part being produced, and behind there is reprogrammed program, and it has been already sent to the machine. And the moment the product goes out, it has already been reprogrammed, and this next product which is coming is different. Accordingly, there is no need to group identical products into batches. Instead, a mixture of different products can be produced one right after another. Okay, so this is a graph. On the left hand side, which goes to the y-axis, is product variety, and the one which goes to the x-axis is production quantity. It is slightly not visible. The line is not visible because of the scan. Now here, there is a programmable automation, which you can see. I have a box here. Then I have flexible automation at center, and then fixed automation. So if I first take the programmable automation, the product variety is completely, you can have as many as product variety, but the production quantity is limited to few hundred. So this line, if you see, if I extrapolate to the x-axis, it is only few hundred. Then flexible automation. In flexible automation, you have from few hundreds to few thousands. It is up till 10,000. So in this, the product variety is slightly still lower, but you have more production quantity. Then you have fixed automation. Fixed automation does not have any product variety. It is exactly on the zero axis of x-axis, and the quantity is more than 10 lakhs. So this is the introduction of the SIM, the starting part. Okay, students have answered here the use of introduction of automatic equipment in manufacturing or process or facility. Okay. So I guess I have finished it too early. Anyways, it was 1:30. Till 1:30 we will continue. Anyone having any questions can unmute themselves and ask. Yeah, I will do one thing. I will share the PDF only directly. I have the book itself, PDF book. Notes we don't give. You have to search from the textbook itself. I'll be sharing the textbook sooner. I have MP Grover with me, that is automation in production systems, and usually we use that only wide. Since you cannot go to the library and pick up a book, I'll be sharing that PDF. Anyone having any questions? Have you understood till here? Either you can unmute and tell yes, because
Yes.
yeah. And we will be having more of the interactive session. I will get some videos. I'll be showing you the videos how exactly sim and automation work together. Okay. So there are a lot of chat. Yes, sir. Okay. So any questions till now? I have one class on Friday, I guess. Sufyan, can you just confirm whether it is on Friday or Saturday?
So it's on the Friday first hour, sir.
Okay, Friday first hour, no problem.
Yes.
I request everyone to join the Google Classroom, which is made for all the 4 divisions, so that every time we do not have to send any links on groups. Directly, you will get a notification to your Gmail ID that there is a class, and you can click on it and you can automatically get into the Google Meet.
So,
Yeah.
so but Friday, Saturday is only for individual classes, right? For individual divisions.
Yeah, as of now it is like that, but we can take it for all the 4 divisions in case you people are ready.
Okay,
We
no
can
problem.
finish off the portion earlier,
Yes,
but
sir.
still I'll
Yes,
just
yes,
confirm with the module coordinator. If it is individual class, then we can have the individual class. This is also not a problem.
yes, sir.
Regarding the first chapter, the first half chapter I will be taking. The first, the second part of the first chapter will be handled by Sachin sir. About the second and third, I have a little confusion. I don't know whether Sachin sir or Tushar sir will be taking. Third chapter will be, fourth chapter will be handled by Prajakta Patil, I guess. And the last chapter again I will be handling about the CNC, machining and the programming. Other two CRs, are they here?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And one more. I have Yash Bichu, Faizul Rahman, Sufyan.
So Harsh, I guess, right?
Harsh, I guess he is not here. Okay.
Harsh,
Harsh is there? No.
No, sir, he's not there.
Okay. And one more thing is we have extensions for taking the class attendance. So those who are here, the class attendance will be taken directly by the Google Classroom itself, and we will have the list. So now you have a notification on your groups about your email ID with your USN number has been created. So you have to use your USN at students.git.edu, and your password will be git at 123456. So from next class onwards, I guess from tomorrow only, you people have to log into the git.edu, and from there you have to join the classroom.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what we'll do is we'll stop the class here. Today, I guess I have prepared only this much because I'm just low on energies because I'm just come out of COVID. So from next class onwards, I will be taking the full stretch of 45 minutes each. Okay. We'll
So-
conclude the
So
class.
what's the password?
Yeah.
About the lab-
Gmail, sir.
Tell me. The password is there. The GIT at 123.
So what's the
It has been already shared in the groups. You can check it
Yes,
on your WhatsApp groups.
So about the lab in the afternoon, sir.
okay, sir.
Which lab you have?
Sir, FM, sir. Fluid mechanics.
I guess they'll have the recording of the this one, the experiment, and they may share it. There's something like that. The staff only will share it with the links.
Okay, so do we have a class like this, online class, or videos will be shared directly?
Yes, you have a Google Meet like this, and maybe a recording is shown to you, or a direct live video may be shown to you. Either of them.
Okay, sir. Thank
Okay,
you, sir.
we'll conclude the
By
class.
using
Yes, sir.
by using our new email IDs, we should join the classroom once again and join all the classes.
You have to use the new email ID and join all the classes once again. Now, whatever classes you have joined, you can exit and rejoin with your new email IDs.
Okay, okay, sir.
Yeah. Okay, we'll conclude the class. Good day.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah,